There's a famous Japanese movie showing how like 6 different people look at the same event and tell the same story from different points of view.
What is truth?
I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say. It's nonsense, and I'll tell you why.
What actually is going on?
Stop interrupting me. The majority of Druze fight.
When we interpret something, we interpret in a way that's hugely dependent on the context in which we're in. This could be an emotional context.
You have been lying the entire time.
Okay.
You came on here and tried to say that Hezbollah.
Please don't talk over each other.
You look at something like political disagreements, right? People are so embedded in their political and social media echo chambers that they find it very, very difficult to not even understand another's perspective, but even recognize that other perspectives exist.
How many people do you think were killed that day?
Between 1,100 and 1,200.
You accept there was a mass slaughter. Does that constitute genocide?
No, it's like you saying that the French resistance, which was operating against the Nazis, and they go and carry out an operation, and during that operation, some children are sadly killed. So you say, oh, so the whole French resistance is illegitimate, and the Nazis' occupation is legitimate. That's nonsense.
We're not going to agree about this, so people can make their own minds up. But
There's 2 sides to every story. It's true. Even people say to me, oh, do you remember that time such and such a thing happened? And you go, let me tell it. And then they tell it, and it's not at all like it happened.
What are the facts? Well, the facts are everything that occurred, but through whose eyes?
All we're ever seeing is our own perception. You see the world the way you see it, right? Not everyone sees it the same way.
And recognizing that we actually have a point of view is important.
What was the example I think you referred to in your book? Was it this blue and white dress?
This was a badly exposed photo of a dress. And there was this violent disagreement. Some people said that dress is clearly white and gold. And then some other people said, what are you talking about? It's clearly a blue and black dress. And I looked at it and I thought, well, that's clearly a blue and black dress. And I took it around my lab and the first 5 people said it's a blue and black dress. The 6th person said it's white and gold. And I thought, oh, hold on, there is something here. What's happening here is that the colors that we perceive depend not only on the light reflected from the thing itself, but on the context.
Is it possible that someone who sees it as, let's say, blue, can they, in a different setting, also see it as white and gold once they've been tuned into this is what it can look like?
I think so. If you change the context enough, you can flip it. It's not easy. I find it very difficult to flip my perception from one interpretation to the other. Our brains do something very clever, which is basically control for what the ambient light is. So if you take pieces of white paper on the table here, if we take them from inside this studio out into the garden, they'll still look white. But the light reflected from the paper into your eyes has changed massively. Inside, the illumination is relatively yellowish. It perplexed people because it challenged this assumption that most of us have most of the time, that we see things as they are. Hold on, it's the same image, yet 2 people can have a radically different experience of the same thing.
What did it teach you about humans?
One of the things that the dress episode suggested to me was the importance in general for people recognizing that they have a point of view.
What I hear as one of the conclusions of what you're talking about, I just see a more compassionate world. I see less tribalism, more forgiveness, more understanding, more empathy. Once we recognize that not everyone sees things the way that we see them.
When you realize that you literally can see the world differently from other people and nobody sees it as it is, idealistically, optimistically maybe, this can cultivate a sense of humility about the way we perceptually encounter things. And then that provides a platform for cultivating a bit of humility about what we believe. And it's not saying that our beliefs are arbitrary and that they bear no relation to the truth. It's just saying that they are interpretations. And that, of course, provides a platform for better communication, empathy, and so on.
What I find so charming is I immediately look to the stories that I'm involved in. And Mike's version of the truth is so shaky. He really did not see it the way I saw it, really, ever. So this is an experiment for me to see what people can get away with when they write a story and tell their version of it. And I've learned that the last guy living gets to tell the story. You know? So I'm trying to take great care of myself. This is just black coffee, nothing in it.
What I'm saying to you is there is no truth. There never was any truth. There's my truth.
I think the truth of what happened kind of depends on who you ask.
When I was growing up, the New York Times, to my parents, was the truth. No doubt about it. It said so in the Times. Only when I became an adult did I realize things that I was experiencing, such as when I went to Alaska in the oil crisis, saw it from the Alaskans' perspective. Well, the New York Times wasn't telling that truth. It was telling the truth from a New Yorker's perspective, so whose truth is truth? Television doesn't tell the truth. Walter Cronkite used to say, and that's the way it was September 28th, 1968. And that was the nightly CBS News. And in the 60s, we got the idea, wait a minute, that wasn't the way it was. You didn't have that piece of news. You told it a certain way. And it was a shocking moment that affected a generation. But unfortunately, that lesson doesn't last. So that on YouTube, read the comments very often. The viewers are thinking it's either the truth or it's not realizing that everything is created just by the nature of the fact that the camera is there. Everything is a story. When you admit that even if you're a true believer, that is, it is the truth, I'm telling you the truth, I still am dramatically creating scenes, selecting things in the editing room, writing script a certain way.